Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we're in beautiful Seattle, Washington, and it's just, last time I was here checking out Rad Power Bikes, it was raining, and their bikes have a lot of good fender options, but we didn't need them today. We're looking at the RadRunner. This is such a unique electric bike in so many ways. Like, at first glance, you're like, well, okay, you know, it almost looks like a compact bike. You got that nice step through. It's like 16.5-inch standover height, very approachable. It's got these interestingly sized tires here. So these are Rad Power Bikes by Kenda. It's like this K-Rad custom design. That's the first thing that I really noticed. These are 20 by 3.3 inches. I'm used to seeing plus size tires, which are like 2.4, 2.6, or 3, and then fat tires, which are like 4.0, 4.9. This is totally different. This is something that they built custom with Kenda, and they did a great job. It's got that same reflective sidewall stripe. It's got puncture protective lining, so they're really going to be durable, and they're stable. You can see that wider contact patch means you can ride across grass or gravel, dirt, but they maybe not quite as heavy, in part because it's a smaller wheel, but also because they aren't quite as wide as a full fat tire, you know, on the fat tire bikes and stuff like the Rad Rover. So I feel like you get a good mix. You get that stability, you get some comfort, you can adjust the maximum tire pressure here. They recommend 30 PSI, but I've dropped mine a little bit. So you can see here, inflate to 30 PSI. You can go a little bit lower than that. Keep in mind if you're someone who's heavier, or maybe you've got a passenger, because this bike is set up to handle that if you want, you could get some pinch flat action, which means like you hit a curb, a sharp angle, and it kind of pinches the inner tube and can create like a snake bite pattern. But they do seem like really nice tires, and they've got good sort of all-terrain tread. They've got lights, integrated lights, so this nice headlight at points where you steer. That's something I look for a lot. And then we've got an integrated backlight that is protected by this rear rack bar. And the light actually has brake light built in and a little button so it can flash. It's a very cool setup. So safety is something I care a lot about. The bike does come in two colors. This is like the forest green right here, and we've got some black ones over there. I've been calling them satin. Some people might call it matte, but I actually like the sort of glossy look because they don't show fingerprints and stuff quite as much. The point being, though, they're both kind of a darker color, at least for now, and with the black battery and all the black, you know, tubing accessories and stuff, I think they look nice, but it's nice to have those highly reflective accents around the bike, because I could see myself using this around town. It's kind of like an everything bike, and the price also really sets it apart. $12.99 for this in US dollars. It is sold in Canada and also in Europe, and there are some slight differences in terms of motor power. So in the United States, it's 750 watt nominal. This is a Bafang planetary geared hub motor, puts out up to 80 Newton meters of torque. It's fantastic. This is a very torquey motor, especially when combined with these smaller wheels, because it has a mechanical advantage. It's not turning this huge wide wheel. So I definitely appreciate that. It's got this twist throttle, so you can just get up and go right away, and it works in all of the levels of assist or zero. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a scooter. The bike is pretty well balanced. You can see the battery pack right here at the center of the frame, and that's a 48 volt, 14 amp hour pack, very high capacity. It's cross-compatible with all their other bikes too, and it's got a little LED charge level indicator right there, so you can see how full it is. But the display on this is a little bit more basic, so you don't quite have like a percentage. You're not going to know how fast you're going. There's some little trade-offs like that. And then the pedals. You see these are plastic pedals, still a little bit wider than some of the like cage style ones. I've seen other plastic ones that sort of, they're not as long, a little bit easier to slip off of. This one has really good grip. They look nice. If they get scratched, you're not going to have like silver showing. They might not get as sharp in that case either. But this bike is a little bit heavier. It's about 65 pounds, as you see here. And there are lots of accessories that are going to increase that weight even further. So I wanted to focus on the stock frame first, just so you know what it would look like. Love the kickstand placement. It's very stable. It makes loading the bike or even mounting the bike if you have a passenger fairly easy. I did notice during some of my ride tests when this was up, the chain was tapping into it, but they told me that's because that was a pre-production stand and that the final version, they actually extended it so it wouldn't click like that, which I think is nice. But the ground clearance on this is a little bit lower. The entire bike is a little bit lower because of those smaller diameter wheels. And again, that makes it approachable here, but the minimum saddle height is still about 31 inches. So you're still a little ways up. And as you can see here, I'm someone who has longer legs. I've elevated that seat so I can get full leg extension, and that really makes this bike unique, especially when you pair it with like that banana seat kind of like extension in the back. You can see over there on that black one, it's got like the rack, but the seat's up higher. So that's the coolest looking configuration right there with the box and then the saddle that's extended, in my opinion. But the reality is I like to extend the seat, and you know, it kind of changes the look. And you can imagine if there's a passenger back here, they might be a little bit lower, you might be up high if you actually want to pedal. But that brings me to this other point. Hey, we got the train coming through. This is a really cool spot. We've been cruising all around Seattle today, and just super quiet, efficient. You could probably fit this thing onto a train if you wanted. There's quick release up front, and then the rear, it's kind of unique. 165 millimeter, 17 tooth sprocket in the rear, 52 tooth up front with this nice alloy chain guide, so that chain's not going to bounce off. And that is not a derailleur. That's a chain tensioner by Sturmey Archer. And I asked them, like, why do you need to do that? You could just have a straight chain. And they said, well, you'd have to like have a horizontal dropout in order to get the tension just right. And then that's harder to line up and configure. So this is actually, you know, they probably spent some extra money, and that does add a little bit of weight, but it makes it easier to repair and just assemble this bike, especially if you do have a flat tire or something. On the rear, we have a threaded axle, and then you see the power cable coming through. So they've added that nice, normally I would call this a derailleur guard, but in this case, it's kind of like a chain tensioner guard. Just protects this sensitive area of the bike if it were to tip over. And you can see, gosh, look at all the different mounting points right here. So that's because they have this like plastic shield. If you've got a passenger on here, this is for a peg that comes out. They've got that seat. They've got a YEP compatible window right here. You could potentially put a basket, some panniers. There's the front basket, and then you'd relocate that light. And I love that it's mounted to the head tube, okay? Because it's gonna be sturdy and steady when you're driving. It's not gonna like shift as you steer the bike. We've got these rubber, non-locking, but ergonomic, pretty comfortable grips. These Tektro mechanical disc brake levers, 4 fingers, rubberized edge with the integrated bell. They do have motor inhibitors, and those are overloaded with the brake light activation. It's very, very cool. While we're looking at the saddle, this is kind of custom. It says Rad Power Bikes right there, and it does align with that optional rear seat pad, and it's just got this big plate on the bottom. This is all steel, so you can't adjust like the seat angle, and maybe that's just to kind of keep it looking cool. It still felt fairly comfortable. You don't quite have that longer nose, and you know, I found myself sitting a little bit further forward so I could pedal without, you know, chafing the inner portion of my leg. You know, it worked well enough, certainly, but this bike is a little bit more kind of scooter oriented is how I feel. And you'll notice that this seat post is actually 27.2, which is standard seat post diameter, and it matches some of their other bikes. So you can actually swap this out with a suspension seat post if you wanted to give this bike some comfort. This is a steel rigid fork, so you know, for comfort, you're really just looking at those tires being able to raise and lower the tire pressure. And then coming back to just the body geometry, being able to shift that bar forward or back and having this high rise, it kind of, it rises up to meet you, and it gives you a nice, comfortable, upright, you know, it just works. I like what they've done here. I think it also looks pretty cool, and they've got that neoprene Velcro cable wrap up here. You'll also notice this spacer. This is like a custom part that they made. It's tapered, it just matches the flow, the design of the bike. Aluminum alloy frame with this extra large gusset right here. It makes this stiff and sturdy. You've got a second bar right here. So even though this is a step-through bike, it doesn't have this frame flex that some other bikes suffer from. And coming back to like that 65 pounds, you know, it's a little bit heavier, but some of that's because we've got these extra reinforcement points on the rear rack. 300-pound max weight capacity on this, and that's great if you're riding with a passenger or you're really filling up a basket or some panniers on the back. Apparently it's 300 pounds, but like 120 pounds on that rear rack. So if you are going to take a passenger, it might be like, you know, someone who's a little bit lighter. I haven't tested it to its max, and a lot of times these companies they kind of, you know, understate what it's really capable of just for liability reasons, I guess, and I can appreciate that. You can see that they've got these really thick 12 gauge spokes, 36 hole, so that's a lot of spokes going on, and then the smaller diameter, that makes it stronger as well. So I really feel like this thing is built like a tank, and to me, it's just such a cool, you know, look. Like when you get this all set up, the standover height is going to be higher because you've got this box, but it reminds me of like just a little motorcycle or something, kind of like a Honda Ruckus, or, you know, and I think about just the price and also the possibilities with this. It seems like just, it's kind of like a multi-tool. It could do a lot of things. You really can go off-road pretty capably, and it was climbing pretty well here in Seattle. There's some big hills and stuff, but you wouldn't need to do that. You could just ride it around the city, you know, plop those pegs out like this. Someone could sit on it, and they really feel solid. I mean, they aren't rattling around as much as some of the cheaper pegs I've seen, and they're mounted in such a way they're not going to spin loose. A lot of thought went into this bike. You can see down here they've put the controller box, but it is really well protected by that, you know, this is the aluminum alloy chain and guides, and everything here is highly water resistant, and it's also fairly modular. So if you did need a replacement part, Rad Power Bikes is going to be there for you. They're one of the best support companies that I've experienced. They have a big team that's there now 7 days a week is what I'm told, so they can like take your calls and help you out and send a part if it breaks and stuff. But, you know, again, for the price, coming back to this display, this is kind of a, you know, again, it's fairly replaceable if you need to, but it's not attracting as much attention. It doesn't have this big glossy thing that's going to get scratched up. You don't have all the readouts. We'll get to that later, but that's just what I'm thinking. Like, it's just kind of a tough do anything kind of bike. And for the price, I mean, I feel like I'm going to see these everywhere. I mentioned the disc brakes before. Mechanical Tektro Aries. You can see the labeling right there. 180 millimeter rotors. That's almost like overkill for a wheel size this small, because again, you have that mechanical advantage. It's not having to stop a super wide wheel. So I've actually like gotten a little bit of skidding going. And mechanical versus hydraulic would be a little bit smoother, require less hand effort. They're not going to stretch like cable stretch over time, but they do require a little bit more assistance from a shop to bleed them and tune them up over time, versus these, you just, you know, get out your little Allen key and adjust it yourself if you need to. So I feel like it's a decent trade-off. Kind of keeps the price low. And I want to call out that torque arm. That's something I see on a lot of Rad Power bikes. So you're not just, you know, pushing the axle against the aluminum alloy frame. You actually got a little bit more leverage. I also want to show you now with the seat on here, see how well protected that light is. If you have a passenger who's sitting on this and they have a long coat, make sure that their coat is tucked in or something. If it hangs too low, it might block that light. And this is not specific to the RadRunner. It's just something I think about for safety so that people can see you. I think it's going to be pretty visible from most angles. Here's that plastic like skirt guard or wheel guard that we were talking about before. You can see those mounting points now in action, and the seat and everything. It's a thing of beauty, actually. I like this box. I'm here with, you know, several members of Rad Power Bikes teams, Corey, Tessa, and Mike. How are you guys doing?
Good. Really good.
It's been a fun day, right?
Awesome.
We each took one so you guys could see all the different colors and different possibilities. And I was hoping that, Mike, can you come over and like open up this box thing? And
of course.
What is this called? What do you call this thing?
So this is what we're calling a center console. So similar to on your car where you have storage and a cup holder and a phone holder, right? You have the ability to store gear in a waterproof location. You can use it with or without the lid. So it's kind of a unique thing where you could toss a grocery bag in there if you needed to.
Oh yeah.
Or your backpack. Or you can put a code in there when you're running into the movie theater, or just helmet or other gear you have. So
that's awesome. And I like that there are some drain holes in the bottom, just so if you are, maybe you take the lid off, and you might ask like, well, why would I take the lid off? It doesn't actually lock. So like, you know, someone could, if they knew, just like steal this for fun or something. I'm, you know, don't mean to put like bad ideas into your mind or anything, but if you happen to leave this open, it's just going to drain out the bottom, which is really nice. And I noticed that it's tapered, so when you're riding this bike, your legs aren't going to like collide with it quite as easily as they might if it wasn't that way.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on the shaping of the box so that it had a large capacity, but so you could still pedal easily with the bike. So one correction, I was just from overhearing you, the motor controller housing is aluminum. So on the bottom,
oh,
there,
it
so
is?
Yeah, so the case along the bottom is not plastic. That's the aluminum motor controller housing.
Thank you. Yeah, because in my mind I was like, you know, it's but at least it's protected down there. Aluminum, that's going to take it to the next level.
Yeah, and then the center console is made out of polypropylene with a UV additive, so that you can have it parked outside all day in the sun and not worried about the plastic.
It's not gonna like, yeah, and get brittle and that kind of thing. That's interesting, man. I mean, you're like the co-founder of the company, so you've been doing this for a long time. You go to China all the time, and you're actually like building and designing a lot of this stuff. And you've been working on this for a while. You've been telling me about it, like, can't wait to show you, Court, can't wait, finally here.
Yeah.
What's the story behind this?
Yeah, so this is really, we work on this bike for a couple of years, and what we're most excited about, I guess, out of all the exciting features, but the adjustable seating passenger kit, right? Where you have...
Show me that. I definitely want it. There it is.
But the ability to be riding with full leg extension, get to your destination when you need to pick up your passenger, and you can just drop it. And then from there, your passenger can be right in on the riding experience with you, right? The foot pegs are in a location where it feels very much like being on a traditional moped or scooter in Europe, or back of a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So you really are, instead of on a traditional cargo bike where it's great for carrying children, but for adults or slightly larger passengers, it's not quite as conducive. But with this, you really can like have
slightly larger passengers. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It looks really cool. I mean, again, to me, when I like the way something looks, like I get more excited about it. I guess I'm being honest here. And I also care about utility, so I love that you've got these bottle cage bosses and you've done that. But for people who, are worried about kicking it, you don't have to. I just feel like you've dotted all the I's and like crossed all the T's, but you've just done something so different. Like, again, what was the inspiration?
Yeah, we get so much feedback from our customers, which we really deeply appreciate, because then we apply that here. And this bike's just so unusual at first when you first see it. It's kind of almost mind-blowing because it's so different. Yeah. It's low step, it's part scooter, part moped, part e-bike. And so we really just wanted to blend together all the things that we loved about two-wheel vehicles into one super approachably priced electric bike.
Yeah, it's just very utilitarian. I've seen a lot of these bikes, at college campuses and stuff, like Rad Power Bikes, because they tend to be more affordable. You've been around for a long time. How many years now, Mike? When did you get started?
12. Yeah.
12 years.
Yeah, so I started the company when I was 15 years old in my parents' woodshed, right?
Wow.
So, yeah, we've had a fun journey, and luckily, thanks to our great team, we've been growing like mad. So
yeah, that's a long time. And I mean, it's just neat that you're responding to the market and doing something cool. I just look at that and I'm like, wow, that is so cool. So I wanted to show the display. Before I do that, I'm going to show you guys the charger. So here it is. It's the same charger for all their other bikes, and it is cross-compatible, the battery, right?
Yeah, it is. It's the same battery pack on all Rad Power Bikes models.
And the 48 volts, so I was like, I've been studying like electricity and voltage, like the power with its pushing energy through. So you do get like kind of a benefit and it's some efficiency with a 48 volt battery, right?
Yeah. What's most important to us is the total capacity, because our bikes are heavier, more comfortable, bigger tires than the average e-bike. Yeah. Because we're definitely bridging that gap between a regular e-bike and a scooter. So our most important factor whenever we're designing battery packs is big capacity. So you have range. You don't have to worry about getting from point A to point B.
That's right. That is really important. And it's a nice benefit. As someone with a sensitive neck, you heard me talking about lowering the tire pressure. On our way over here, I did lower it. I pulled over and it felt a little bit better. It changes a little bit, like the steering isn't quite as like quick and nimble because the tire's molding to the terrain. It's totally worth the trade-off for me. I mentioned the possibility of the seat post suspension and stuff that they sell, although that is going to raise your minimum saddle height by 3 inches, so you're not going to get this like really sexy like flat look right there. But yeah, just the comfort element of it. If you're not comfortable on your bike, you're not going to want to ride as much. So I like that. And it feels like at this price, I could park this at the bike rack, and if it got scratched, I'd be like, well, who cares? Like it's a utility kind of a thing. And I love it. It's just tough. So anyway, let's get back into it. So we talked about the battery. It's a 48 volt, 14 amp hour.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's pretty. What's the total? Is that
672 watt hours?
672. Okay, I had it back. Thank you so much. Here's the little display. So we're gonna boot this up by pressing the power button here, and it goes doot 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 doot. There's 5 little charge level indicators right here. There are these red dots, and it's bright and sunny right now, so maybe it's hard to see them. I hope that helps. There's 4 levels of assist, including 0, and it starts in level 1. So it's kind of ready to go. You pedal, but with a single speed starting off is like a little sluggish. You're like, okay, now we're going. And then when you get up to like the 20 mile per hour, if you're in the United States or Canada, that's the top speed. You're spinning a little bit more. So this is really about, again, I think reliability. And then you just go back to the throttle, which gives you full power. You can get all the way to the top speed. You can maximize the motor output just by twisting that. And it's a really nice throttle design. Mike, is this something new? Like, I haven't seen this housing. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, so we eliminated the on-off push button on the throttle. So like everything else on the handlebar and the cockpit's being simplified, the throttle's also had that button removed. So it's simpler to operate. It's, you know, it's less feature rich than the 1499 models, but we think that our customers really are going to prefer this version on this bike.
Yeah, well, it makes sense here. And again, thank you for highlighting some of those differences and just being upfront. I love, you know, this is like the metal connectors right here with the little rubber washer. It feels like there are parts of this bike where you're using high quality stuff. You know,
yeah,
it's
a lot of parts from this bike that are taken over from our 1499 lineup. And then we strip stuff away, like you were kind of describing, the Singlespeed, the simplified display.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really part of our value innovation approach now to all of our model product developments.
Very cool, very cool. And coming back to like some of the things that you don't have like a speedometer. So when you're riding, you don't know how fast you're going. You could mount like your phone or something here, maybe use that for GPS, but there's no USB port on it. That was one of the things we talked about. I was like, it'd be cool if you could charge your phone while riding, because you do have that high capacity battery. Maybe we'll see it someday, but I've heard some companies say that it can be a little bit finicky too. So, you know, you buy a little backpack for your phone if you need something like that. The 4 levels of assist are nice. And then the cadence sensor down here, you can see it. It's this sealed sensor, so it's not the old ones with the magnets that's a little bit more exposed. That does cost more money, and apparently this one has, what was that, 14 phase or
14 pulse.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you, Corey. I always rely on you for the great details. That means that it's going to respond quickly when you start pedaling. It's not going to leave you hanging quite as long, although it is a cadence sensor. There is that moment of delay before it really senses if you're going from 0. Standard 170 millimeter crank arms, feels natural when you're pedaling, and you know, with the seat raised like that, it works great. If you hold the minus key, you do have walk mode built into this, and it feels really comfortable. It's not one of those like super, like, whoa, didn't surprise me. And it's definitely worth having when you've got something that's heavier like this, in case you do get a flat tire, or maybe you just want to walk with your groceries rather than ride, or you want to walk with a couple friends. You know, you only got one passenger seat on this thing. I like that they included walk mode. It's clearly labeled here. And then we have the light buttons. So there's the headlight. Kind of see it's a pretty nice looking light. Maybe can you do what are these? Yeah, it's on when you turn the light on, and then it goes bright with the brake light activation. I mean, that is so cool. And then down here there's like a little button flashing. I mean, that is so cool too. Like, that's something a lot of bike companies just don't. All the aftermarket lights have flashing, but none of the built-in ones, and except theirs. And so I feel like that's really good. You can see their panniers that fit right over that rear tubing, which is extra thick. And then they've got those arches that align with these plastic fenders pretty nicely. And the front one feels good too. There's enough clearance here. It's not gonna be like buzzing or anything like that. I feel like we've covered almost everything here. Is there anything that else you guys care to add, or you didn't hear me talking about?
No, I think super comprehensive.
I think we got it. Yeah. So you guys, the big takeaway is that it's hard for me to say like, what is this bike for? Because it's just so multifaceted. I think it's for people who can afford it. And you know, there are cheaper bikes out there. I've seen them, you know, Amazon and stuff has these cheaper bikes, but they're not gonna come as well packaged a lot of times. Like, I've received bikes that are kind of banged up, and then there's like no customer support, and they don't necessarily stick around. So finding a battery in the future can be difficult. Whereas Rad Power Bikes, this is the same battery across the line, and you guys just moved to a new headquarters. You have all this staff, so it's worth paying a little bit more for. But to me, this is still, it's affordable. On my site, you know, EBR, I put like anything below $1,500 is affordable. So this at roughly $1,300 with free shipping in the US and Canada is pretty good. The trade-offs are just, you know, make sure that you're okay with like that slightly fatter tire, the little bit of extra weight, the single speed drivetrain. Those are the trade-offs, and those are the considerations. Trying to keep this like a review. Do you need this bike? Because you had a whole range. The Rad City is a pretty good bike too. That's a little more traditional. You're not going to get that passenger seat, but all those same accessories and stuff are going to work well. So I think that's good, you guys. Maybe we can just hop on and take a little ride.
Yeah. Great. Go.
So we're cruising around Seattle on these bikes, and it is just so much fun. And this guy over here was like, "Whoa, looks like fun, dude." And I just thought it would be cool to show you how we deal with like road closures and detours and stuff. It actually turns into a whole lot of fun. This is like a kind of a famous area in Ballard, right? The little sculpture garden.
Yeah, definitely kind of the main downtown area. A lot of restaurants and bars and good thing.
Yeah, it's just awesome. And I love this, like ties right in with that forest green.
Oh yeah.
Good
right
call.
On brand.
Absolutely. Okay. And with the single speed, I noticed that, you know, the chain's not bouncing around a whole heck of a lot. You do have to pedal a little bit more to get it started, like kind of, you know, put some effort in to get it going. But with that twist throttle and full power override at any moment, you know, it's actually it's pretty instantaneous when you do that. With the 20-inch wheels, that motor gets a good mechanical advantage. So I haven't had a problem really starting, except for when I'm holding the camera with my right hand. So let's swap it up here. Got the no hands action going on. Feeling pretty stable, as you can see here. Those wider tires. Really interesting to see like a new tire size. Something like totally brand new that these guys just like made. Okay, this is when the throttle comes in handy, guys. Ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Seattle's just a super fun place to cruise around by bike, especially on a day like today. It's just so beautiful out. I can hear a little bit of tinking. That's the chain just tapping on the, looks like the double leg kickstand down there. With the chain tensioner and that chain guide though, shouldn't have any problems with drops. Looking good. Woo! Okay guys, a lot of times you're asking about hills and testing, and I don't always have access to a hill, but we do today. And there's a sign now that it said 0 to 13 degrees, and it's definitely a hill. You can see up there, pedaling up this without assist, especially on a heavier bike, it would take some effort. You'd have to stand up for sure. You know, a single speed, it's really clean, it's reliable, it's quiet, but you don't have a lot of gears. So I thought this would be a good chance to just test the power of that motor. Corey, why don't you go for it? Just maybe pull out here and then start from the flats, like facing up the hill. I just want to show, yeah, now full stop. Give me a full stop, buddy. We're gonna test this for reals. There he goes. It's not really having to stand up. He's got that seat height elevated. And yeah, go ahead, Tessa, that's beautiful. They're all pedaling. I'm not gonna pedal, just to demonstrate the power of that motor. I mean, I only weigh 135 pounds. So it's not like the world's best example of brute force, but I'm having no problem cruising up these hills, not having to pedal. So if you're someone who does have like knee sensitivity, or you know, you're just concerned, maybe your hips or something like that, you don't have the seat height as high as I do, or maybe you have a passenger, I do feel like these motors are pretty effective. It's a planetary geared hub motors by Bafang, kind of custom tuned by Rad Power Bikes. And of course, if you do pedal along, just adds a little bit of extra power. It's gonna preserve some of that battery capacity, because it does, you know, it's definitely pulling some juice when you ascend a bigger hill without helping it. Oh, here's another hill. Seattle's just a great place to test this stuff out. And again, I'm gaining on these guys. I'm not pedaling at all. Very nice. It's a good example. You know, I got into e-bikes because of some knee sensitivity, as I used to ski a lot, and some water skiing and some snowboarding and all this fun stuff as a kid. I took some falls and created some sensitivity. So a product like this is really nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Uh-oh. But it does not help you with directions. That's the one thing. They're still working on that, piecing things together.
Don't judge me for my lack of directions.
Tessa's saying, don't judge me just because I don't know the directions. These guys work so hard. They're in the office so much, they don't know what to do when you're out in the real world. This is such a cool neighborhood to cruise around. Howdy. People walking their dogs. Lots of beautiful flowers and stuff. Last time I was in Seattle, it was just raining like so much. It was crazy, but that's where those fenders really come in handy. So I love that you guys have the accessories and stuff. And waterproof panniers with the reflective patches and everything. Corey said we're going to Sunset Hill Park. Sounds really beautiful. There's gonna be some views of the water and everything. Just really thankful to be out here today riding. And I wanted to give you a view of, you know, if you get this box accessory here, you know, it's a little bit wider. I'm not really hitting my knees on it as I pedal, but it is close. You can see they kind of built it to be tapered. So a lot of thoughtfulness here, trying to maximize cargo space. But I did want to point that out and just give you a view, because some people might feel that it's a little bit close. Or if you're someone who just feels that like, hey, I really want to keep that standover height low so I can hop off, then, you know, you don't have to get the box. And that's what it'd look like. You'd have a little bit more like leg clearance. Oh yeah. Wow, great view today.
Must be a cat stuck in the tree or something.
Uh-oh. Corey says maybe there's a cat stuck up in that tree. It's so cool what you see when you just like get out on your bike, and a lot of smiles, and maybe some of the stress of news and just, you know, negativity fades away, and you see people out helping each other. That's really awesome. Wow. If you live in Seattle, do you guys, like, if someone's gonna buy a bike from you guys, do you let them test ride it, or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. We do test rides of all of our models from our retail location.
Okay, that's pretty cool. This would be a fun place to come. Unless you're stuck in a tree. What was that?
Got a couple cars.
Got a couple cars coming through. I just thought it would be so cool to like hop onto this back seat and give you guys some like straight up feedback. And Mike has volunteered. There we go, buddy. My life is in your hands. So I'm just gonna approach, put my feet on the pegs like that. Yeah. And I guess, is the shoulder, or do I?
Dude, let's get comfortable.
Hey, safety, right?
Yeah.
This actually feels pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, we got the brake test. Oh boy. It's actually really comfortable. You lowered your air pressure too, right?
yeah, I think I'm at like 18 probably.
Oh, nice. Yeah, this is more pleasant than I was expecting. And I'm probably maxing out the weight here. I'm 135. They said technically it's 120 on the back. And how much do you weigh, Mike?
195.
195 plus 135 pounds. That's what we're dealing with here, which is, sounds like that's over 300. But we're being safe. We're wearing helmets. I'm not condoning this. Very cool, very cool. There's our friends just right up there. And this is all throttle, you guys. Like, Mike isn't, you're not pedaling or anything.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a hill. Corey, can you do some like nice videography of us?
Let's get it going.
There we go. We got the third person perspective. There we go. Yeah, I think we just go down there. Feeling pretty good. We're making it.
Padding.
Yeah, 3 inches of padding right here. It's feeling pretty good. Thanks, man.
Good
That was
work.
Good stuff. There we go. That was impressive. That was.
You can't stop smiling.
I know, right? This is great. And I think this is the other one, just so you guys can see what it looks like with someone on it. So, you know, Corey's cruising around. I just love that box idea. That is so cool. Hey guys, we made it to this park. Had a great time today. It's really fun to see these bikes with the accessories all loaded up. And so thank you again. It was really, really pleasant riding around. For the full written review, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Got all the specs and stuff. And please chime in if I feel like I got something wrong, you have a question or whatever. These guys are really proactive. They'll try to help too. Ride safe out there, you guys. Love ya. We'll see you next time.